think the biggest challenge that we faced was just consistency and bandwidth to be able to perform testing to assure build quality. We did have, and we still have, limited involvement and capacity from our business colleagues to be able to participate in application testing. And it was a bit of a struggle, and it had been a bit of a struggle to get the sufficient testing done in each build cycle, in each upgrade, and even in cycles such as operating system patching to make sure that the quality of the build was there, that we had no performance regression, we had no functionality regression, and that our testing was robust and repeatable. We just weren't doing it, and as such, we were impacting our business. We were putting builds out, and there were problems, and there were functionality issues, and that was what drove us to start doing this. And we'd heard about SQS, as you were in those days, now Expleo Trissential, of course, and we'd seen a lot of presentations and heard a lot of talk about you guys at the Siemens user events, and we'd heard about the Siemens development organization who were using you and partnered with your company to do the testing of PLM before it was even released to customers, and that impressed us, and that's what got us talking with you guys in the beginning.
I really think Mark pretty much hit on everything I was going to say as well. I mean, to a T. We were dealing with a lot of needing business testers to come in and taking up their time from doing actual other work and preparing for other improvements with different tools. And then we didn't have documented test cases even at the time. For bad or worse thing to say, we're, a lot of times or every release we're kind of shooting at the hip, getting a bunch of people in the room and watching them do testing and then checking off line by line on some of these basic functionalities. And it wasn't efficient, slowed us down as far as do more releases in a shorter period of time. And our release deployments were kind of all over the place, and lots of changes in the positive direction after incorporating Expleo and the testing teams into to our release process.
As Mark and Tony mentioned, pretty much all are obviously applicable for us. Certain things which somewhat different environment we were going through, I can highlight. As company was growing, both organically, inorganically, there were a lot of continuous change requests from business as well as the business transformation programs as a part of mergers and acquisition was one of the challenge which drives frequent changes as well as upgrades. And on the architectural perspective, we are one of the unique customer of Siemens using two-tier rich client, on-premise, on-cloud VDIs, heavily about 60 to 70% of customizations on top of the out-of-the-box with the 4 mechanical CAD tools, 1 ERP, 1 electrical CAD tool, integrations on top of it, in-house developed custom web apps for complexity in terms of the application architecture. And then on top of it, agile methodology of releasing their versions also triggers lifecycle upgrades and so on. Keeping all this in consideration, the robustness, the short cycle time for testing, and the quality are the predominantly driving factors. And it was almost a 10-year journey for us when we started with SQS 2014. And over a period of time, still today, we are not able to do 100% test automation. I don't think we ever be able to reach to that. But these are all some of the challenges with the cloud migration coming in our strategic initiative. It's also going to be helpful to address CI/CD pipeline automation and so on. So initially, when we started, it was a slow progress. Number of test automations, number of test cases being automated in a quarter, and then maintenance, etc. Over a period of time, the stability is the most important. When I say stability is number of test cases successfully get executed at first time. Once you automate is very, very critical and important. Over a period of time, Expleo demonstrated constant improvement in that space. Not only operational improvements, Expleo team has brought new platforms and new frameworks and the new tools as industry is evolving to address the complicated issues, which especially with the multi-CAD and then ERP kind of a scenarios, end-to-end integration test scenarios.
When I think about the current state of where we are and with the benefits that we've achieved over the course of the last 5 or 6 years working with SQS and Expleo, my journey started with implementing brand new environment and migrating an old environment to it. We started with manual testing, and immediately we saw improvements, but we still had challenges. When we finally reached some level of maturity with our implementation and went forward with automation, we immediately saw a reduction in costs by half and an amazingly increase in quality. Since we implemented automation, we haven't introduced a production issue from any release, and running at times as many as a release every 2 months or more frequently. We recently also went through moving our teamcenter environments to AWS, and with the use of performance testing, we had a huge improvement as far as quality and performance for the end users across the board. And currently, we're on the tail end of an upgrade, pretty much the exact same result. Minimal number of issues, being able to identify issues up front and get them resolved, making us able to hit our timelines to a T, and even pulling some activities ahead. I think that's been the biggest thing, is that with this use of this automated testing, there's been no delays almost. And I also have to give a little bit to the quality of the teamcenter product out of the box. I've seen a huge improvement over the course of the last 15 years. It's gotten so much better and easier to do these deployments and implementation with testing as well as releases.
Well, I think our experiences are similar. We're seeing an improved build quality, and we saw that right out of the gate. When we started on this journey with Expleo, at that time, we were only using Teamcenter Rich Client, and we were using it in a multi-site environment. And it helped to actually discover several things about our environment, even outside the build cycle, just on current configuration, where we were able to identify some issues, some lack of consistency across multi-site, and discover issues we didn't even realize really existed in the system. And that sort of brought the quality of our configuration up to par fairly quickly. And then just being able to maintain that and having agility in our build cycles and be able to increase the pace of innovation that we're delivering to the business, and doing it with confidence, knowing that we're not going to be breaking the system, we're going to be maintaining performance. That's been extremely helpful. And we're also on a journey into AWS, and in parallel with that, we're upgrading our global network. So we've been using this framework to take performance benchmarks and ensure that, as we transition a site over to our new global network, that the performance at that site is expected. It's where it's expected. It's either equal to or better than where it was before. And so that's been really helpful as we're going from on-prem multi-site Teamcenter, we're going to single site on the cloud, and this framework has been phenomenal in being able to validate that now the performance is good and the functionality is there. And we've also been able to transition from Rich Client to Active Workspace. So we're basically full-blown Active Workspace in our company now, which has been a huge step forward in usability for the system. And we've been able to deliver quality builds and improve the overall functionality of the system to meet users' needs and expectations on performance of the system. I wouldn't say that we've been as lucky as to say we've completely avoided production issues. So we still encounter issues. More often than not, it's because we've realized that we didn't have a test case for that. So what I love about this relationship is that when we do find an issue, we can trace it. Is there a test case that's currently covering that? If not, no, let's get the Expleo team involved, and they can very quickly build a test case for us and enhance our test suite. And that's really been fantastic.